Okay, there seems to be a lot of students that are trying to make the worst possible logo ever. So I thought I would save everyone the time, and I'm going to show you a tutorial so that you don't even have to think and make those awesome decisions, how to make the worst logo ever. There are a couple of very simple rules that everybody should follow. This is how to make them really, really awful. Okay, I'm going to assume that you already have a company, and that company is obviously about ducks being great. So first off, choose a really good font, a font that is used quite often so that we know that it's amazing. You're going to go with Papyrus, or you're going to go with Zapfino, or even Comic Sans. All of these are really classy, high-quality fonts that you definitely want to use all the time in everything. So we're just going to start here and say that ducks are awesome. One thing that a really good logo has is very small text, and a lot of it. Usually they have multiple fonts, so I'm going to grab Papyrus for this one, but this one I'm going to change to Zapfino. Because when you have a script font, it should definitely be very small. Script fonts are great for body copy. Another thing that is really, really good is outlining your fonts with a white stroke. There's nothing better than a white stroke, very thin white stroke, around your fonts. These are things that are very, very important that only the masters are going to know. Now, the other thing that will be very, very helpful is try to outline and distort your letters without really thinking too much about it. Let's zoom in so we can see what we're doing. I'm just going to grab the end of this. I'm just going to drag it over. I don't really care too much about alignment or where that ends. Let's make this even bigger so we can really see what's going on. I'm going to grab this D and make it gigantic. And have that overlap. Tangents are definitely your friend. When things overlap in awkward ways, that draws the attention of the viewer, and the least legible that you can get possible. If you can make your C and your K look almost like a D, good for you. Okay, then what we're going to do is gradients are the best. Really what I'd like you to do is I'd try to get the brightest gradient possible. Gradients work really well in logos, especially if you take one and you cross the entire color wheel. Don't be subtle, be bold with your gradients. So take something and go from like a dark purple to a blue or a bright pink, and let's just be really, really bold with our gradients. And I'm actually going to change this to maybe a green. There we go. Now that is looking really good. Now another sign of a great logo is that it has to have a box or a shape behind it to work, right? All logos have shapes. So when you're making your shapes, you want to have as many anchor points as possible. So don't try to go for smooth lines or simple shapes. If you can get this shape to be extremely complex, that's the gold ticket. So as complex as you can possibly get it is going to be where it is. And make sure you do not close off your shapes. So don't close those things off. And as always with everything in great logos, make sure that you have a very thin stroke. Put a thin black stroke around that. Just like that. Beautiful. Okay, now I can't really see my letters anymore, so I'm going to put a thin black stroke around those as well, because everything deserves a thin black stroke. And then another thing that you're really, really going to want to do, I'm going to even change this up. Don't follow any particular color scheme at all. Don't learn anything about color theory. Just throw colors out there. The brighter, the better. And remember, gradients are your friend because they give you more colors. I mean, look at that nice brown muddy color in the middle there. Ducks are awesome. This is going to look amazing when it's tiny or huge. It's going to be great. Okay, now what I'm going to want to do is, because another thing about logos is they should not be scalable. You should definitely not do logos completely in vector, and you should include some kind of imagery. The best way to do that is to steal stuff from the internet. So without asking permission at all, just go and grab a duck. paste that duck into your board, throw that on top. We'll mask this guy out because we just want his head. There we go. Okay, so throw that behind those letters. Right about there, that's good. Make sure you have lots of nice tangents. And you know what? I'm going to put a stroke on this too because everything deserves a thin black stroke. Everything. Literally everything should have a thin black stroke on it. Little bits of trapped white space, negative space, beautiful. Keep that up. Don't bother with anything like proximity, alignment, repetition, contrast, flow, color theory, or typography. Throw all of those rules completely out the window as if you've never heard of them before and try to just really go. Now, if you want to push this to the limit, you should include clip art. If you wanted to take this image into Photoshop and add some really cool filters like that, or something that makes it look like a fresco painting, more power to you. The key here is to be completely devoid of any type of design rules or typography rules. That is how you get the worst logo ever.